So the darkness falls around you again, as it did the last time you had one of these meetings. But this time, when the scenery sort of coalesces around you, you find yourself not in the Nine Hells as you did the last time when you met Glaysa's emissary. Instead, you find yourself in a small clearing in a winter forest. And the snow on the branches sort of refracts the light. There are rainbows playing on the ground, and bright red fruits of some sort are the only splashes of color you really see other than those rainbows. And in the circle with you, a tall tiefling is standing with her back to you, admiring the scenery. She has very dark skin and dark hair. She has wings that are much larger than is usual for a tiefling, and a tail that comes to the same kind of point that Calder's does.
That, like, three-pronged, semi-grasping thing.
And again, as you find yourself in the middle of this clearing, she is taking in the scenery rather than looking at you. What do you do?
Calder will be very quiet and will just, not like trying to conceal himself, not trying to be stealthy, but he'll just very calmly, without any fanfare, will walk until he is on her left.
She is taller than Calder, but not like ogreishly so, including her horns, which instead of being straight up like Calder's are, they kind of stick out forward from her forehead.
That's describing Calder's, actually. Calder's goes up and loops around.
And with that, with the horns included, she's maybe 6.5 feet tall, so very tall, but not freakishly so.
Mm-hmm. And once he is standing beside her, he will look and see what's so interesting and just reflect on the moment, enjoying the beauty, the grandeur of the place.
And she sort of looks to the side for a moment, like out of the side of her eye. She doesn't fully turn. And she says,
"So many of my kind can't take a moment to appreciate the beauty that is all around us. They always feel like what we do must be ugly to be effective. It's unfortunate."
Seems a little unusual for a race that spends so much of its effort around temptation.
Well, I suppose that's why they have me. So, what brings you here? You asked for a meeting. You didn't have to, but here we are.
I've been asking for a meeting with you since I was 9.
I suppose that's true.
You'll have to pardon me if I am inconsistent with my admiration. I am dealing with a lot at the moment.
Yes. Yes, so you are. I'm aware of the general tenor of the current situation. Though if you've come to me seeking specific knowledge on exactly how to emerge victorious, I may disappoint you in that.
If I needed the help of devils to win this war, I don't think I would be dealing with you.
She looks pointedly at the staff for a moment, and then back forward at the vista before her.
I imagine you have questions. Ask them, and then we can get on with business.
Calder will laugh and just take a long sigh. "20 years ago, I would have been able to ask you questions for days. 10 years ago, I may have been a dutiful and easily recruitable soldier. 5 years ago, I might have even been tempted to burn the world down, much like others have. But now, So many of those questions just don't seem relevant anymore. I have to admit I was a little surprised to learn your identity as my mother, Glaysa of the Archdevils, Lady of the Fourth Circle, daughter of Asmodeus.
Yes, I have many names.
And I suppose that means father. Sorry, not much. So I suppose that means that Mother of Calder is now on that list.
Yes.
I suppose the first question, though, is what does that mean?
What does that mean? From a literal sense, it means that you were birthed from me.
Certainly. But we both know that that can't be it. Can't be all of it.
Ah. The question you are asking is not how, but why.
To what purpose? That's part of it.
You were payment.
Payment.
Yes. Payment in a contract. Your father, Albrecht, summoned me. Me personally, if you can believe that.
I can only barely believe it, and entirely because I stand as evidence of it.
Your father is not one to do things halfway. He was seeking power. He came directly to me, as opposed to one of the underlings.
That is his style.
He wished for the power to dominate his enemies, to control those around him. And I granted him this.
By giving him me.
Oh no. No. You were my payment, not his.
That will catch Calder off guard.
His part of the bargain was he would receive the power to dominate his enemies and those around him, and in exchange, he would sire you. And he swore to never, ever reproduce again. An oath that he kept to until very recently. But I suppose I should start from the beginning, yes?
That might be helpful.
At the time that he summoned me, Albrecht was married. Oh, what was her name?
Calder will, take a grumbling click of his jaw. Lady Benar.
Ah, yes. Venari.
Anton et al.'s mother.
We may have a conversation about that one later on, but for now, I would have you know that he truly loved that woman as much as he's capable of loving anyone. In order to summon me, he had to sacrifice something that he truly, honestly found dear. And when he put her heart on the altar, my joining him was evidence enough that he truly loved her.
Calder will grab the shadow staff so hard his knuckle pops.
Oh, I suppose he wouldn't have told you that, would he?
No, it changes an accusation I've been hearing since I was in my head since I was a child to being true.
Yes.
That their mother was dead because of me.
Oh, no. No, do not mistake me. His sacrifice was simply to gain my presence, to gain my attention. The deal we made after the fact was entirely separate. He sacrificed his wife simply to gain audience with me. He did not know at the time whether I would grant him anything. I say this not to spare your feelings, but because it is simply the truth.
This is... learning that my father is a bastard is not really new information. I have to admit that seeing the specific colors and hues of bastarddom is fresh.
As I said previously, he requested the power to dominate his enemies. In exchange, you were created.
Then that obvious question leads to why? What did you gain out of it in me? You didn't raise me. He was left to care for me.
She pauses for a while, and she says, "You ask your purpose. The same question that so many mortals ask themselves, and I'm afraid, though I will give you a truthful and complete answer, I doubt you will find it satisfactory."
I have long since abandoned the idea of getting a satisfactory answer to why I am here.
My kind sees the world and the planes and existence differently from you and yours. We see things in terms of eternity, as opposed to just now. We can see possibilities and branches and probabilities. And unfortunately, the only thing I can say that your mind will be able to comprehend is that your existence, here and now, benefits me and benefits the Nine Hells in ways that I don't think I could explain to you.
Because I do not have your powers of prescience, I have to simply take it on my mortal eyes of faith that the long form of calculus will benefit you.
Yes.
I suppose that is an honest enough answer as anything. I'm interested to see how that pans out, but I am a patient person.
Are you?
I've waited this long for a talk, haven't I?
So you have.
So I am payment for an esoteric purpose that benefits you, and in exchange, Albrecht killed the woman he cared for most in all the world, leaving himself unmarried, conveniently enough to allow himself to marry into a very prominent elven house, achieve mystical dominance because of it, and conveniently sired for himself a seventh son when he himself is a seventh son.
And he kept his promise to avoid having another child. He had mistresses, of course, dalliances. His abilities made it trivially simple, honestly. But he was always very, very careful that no child was ever born, for none of his mistresses lived long enough to carry to term, even if they had become impregnated.
Calder will stare off into the middle distance as various pieces from his own past fall into place.
I imagine you saw a great many female faces come in and out of the house over the course of your lifetime.
They were just seen as distractions, shipped away, vanished, disappeared, given a pile of money and told to go somewhere else. That was the assumed theory, anyway.
There is a mass grave on the outskirts of the family plot. You can find it if you search. But his most recent dalliance, a serving girl named Gina, she survived. She was taken away to be disposed of, as always. And she was left for dead in the grave. But she survived. And on the evening of the full moon, she bore a child. Albrecht's contract with me is void.
And this has prompted something to change?
That and the situation in the world at large.
So, I have a younger brother, half-brother, who is days old, and because of this violation of the contract, this has prompted what?
Well, I suppose, if we must get down to business, if the pleasantries are already resolved.
Oh, I'm certain we can multitask.
You did accept the staff in exchange for a favor. And yes, Albrecht's impropriety was one of the reasons why I drew myself to your attention. Albrecht has protections, of course he does, against me acting against him directly.
He is a very patient, long-form thinker in that way.
But someone of his own blood could retrieve for me that which I originally gave him.
What is that?
His power. His magic. Your father has been gaining magical abilities from me for years, and it is time that I take them back.
He is a warlock.
I believe that is the term for it, yes.
He's your warlock. This aligns quite a bit. I always assumed that father was a sorcerer like myself.
He would have you believe so, yes.
Calder will just not looking directly at her, just sort of probably does something that she's seen several times, seen Albrecht do many times, where he just sort of is running the calculus in his head and like just thoughtfully like running a thumb down his beard as he holds the staff. You foresaw this.
I found it to be a likely possibility.
And thus my agency as the life that I had been encouraged to lead was engineered to make me pliable to such a offer of information and to allow a certain moral flexibility in becoming a patricide.
So very, very suspicious. Always so very suspicious. No, my son. This is a matter of convenience. You owe me a favor and you have the ability to take back what I gave. You were born simply to exist. Your choices are your own, and your path is your own. Your existence benefits me regardless of how you choose to use it. I did not in any way engineer this specific meeting. It is serendipitous.
Said the devil. I am willing to entertain the image that you are telling me the truth. I am even willing to believe everything because it aligns simply too much with factors if you had the ability to engineer, then my existence would be trivial, and if you did not have the ability to engineer, it simply aligns with other truths. I am willing to accept what you say is true, and I'm willing to accept what Albrecht has done as true. And you speak of me as to confirm a theory, a question I've had for some time, of whether or not my soul is truly my own. Huzzah, it is.
It is.
So that leaves me where?
Well, you mentioned patricide, which is not entirely the case. I am not asking you to kill your father, though he deserves death several times over, as I understand mortal laws.
When she says, I'm not asking you to kill your father, Calder will snap his fingers in a faux darn.
Oh no, I have something far more appropriate. When Albrecht asked me to give him his power, his exact words was he wished to never have to feel helpless again.
He used those words. He used that word again.
She holds her hand out, the one that's in between you and her, and over her hand, a crystal rod will materialize. It's about 6 inches long. It's made of cloudy white crystal with 2 dark rubies, one on either end. And she'll simply hold it in front of her.
Can I get an Arcana check for that one?
Absolutely.
Jeff recognizes that, but I want to see if Calder does.
Go ahead and roll that and let us know, because I'm not looking at the table, what the result is.
I'm going to re-roll that because that seems important enough.
Okay.
14.
14.
Better than nothing.
What is it that you think that this is?
This looks like the ruby rod.
I'm going to say it's not, actually. Okay. That's the thought that Calder has as well, but it's not quite the right shape.
Okay.
And she says,
present this rod in front of your father and channel your will through it, and it will siphon the power that I have given him. You can then return it to me, and that contract will be completed.
I would understand that he probably would not react well to seeing this.
No, I suppose he would not. If you complete this task, you will leave him once again mundane, powerless, possibly to face the consequences of everything he's done.
And this is the favor you would ask of me.
In exchange for the staff you currently hold.
And a mysterious other favor.
I am not without my sources. When gods and deities are involved, my eyes do not see everything, but there is information I could impart to you. But if it does not have to do with you specifically and our relationship, well, I am who I am. I cannot give such things away simply for free.
And what if I importuned a debt that I am owed?
one of her eyebrows goes up, but she doesn't say anything.
And Calder will, for the first time, turn to look at her directly. By your own admission, I am whole. I am a mortal being. I have a soul. I have the ability to create and do great things. This means that when you made me, when you had me made, you deliberately left me in the care of Albrecht. And with your abilities of prescience, this means that you knew or heavily suspected everything that was going to happen to me. Everything. That means you knew about Anton beating me nearly to death. That means you knew about Silas torturing me in the backyard with his dogs. That means you knew about the ridicule, the mockery of looking so different from my siblings. The horns giving away my infernal heritage and making me be called devil, monster, demon, because for the uneducated, but you knew that I would lead a life of ridicule, of torment, of pain, and you did this on purpose. And so Calder will, in a very uncharacteristic, raw show of emotion, will cast a hand out towards the beauty in the distance, and he'll cast Acid Ball and burn a section of it.
And as you watch, it melts away, not like branches, but like dream stuff, leaving a hole in reality rather than a bare place on the ground.
And Calder will flip the staff toward her. I am owed.
And she sighs a little bit and says,
Am I to understand that you hold me responsible for the cruelties of the world?
No, I hold you accountable to the cruelties of you leaving an innocent child in the hands of a monster, the way any rational entity would. It wasn't a matter of the world being cruel. It wasn't a matter of the world being a monstrous, evil place where bad and evil things happen. You, on purpose, left an innocent in the hands of that monster.
Who is it that you believe that I am?
I believe you are Glaysa, Lady of the Fourth, daughter of Asmodeus. I am not surprised at this action. I am not in any way surprised at it. But I also know how devils function. You involved me, an innocent, in this game of yours, which means if you are importuning me here, if you are invoking some sort of involvement of contract, if you want me to enforce your contract on Albrecht, I'm happy to do so. I'm willing to do so. But that means that I, a mortal, a being with a soul, was involved in an infernal contract without my consent.
Do you believe that Albrecht's wife gave consent to be part of this deal? Do you believe that any of his mistresses consented to be a part of this deal? You are laying the responsibility at the wrong feet. If you wish to take your vengeance upon your father or your brothers or those around you, that is well within your rights. But the fact that I created you does not mean that I am responsible for every cruel thing that happened to you. And even if I were, do you believe that if you had not experienced those things, if you had lived a happy, carefree life, full of sunshine and dewdrops, do you believe you would have forged the pact that you have with the Shadowfell? But no, before you respond to that, I am not taking credit for your abilities, just as I am not taking the blame for the torment that was inflicted upon you. You lay that responsibility at the feet of those who deserve it. Other humans who freely, with their own souls and their own right of choice, chose to treat you the way that they did. Yes, I could have intervened potentially, but to what end? You know who and what I am. I had no contract with you until just now. I owe you not a thing.
And there it is. I will not be taking you on your second offer for information. I want, after this is done, after I take my staff that I am owed, after I enact a vengeance that I would happily deliver for Albrecht to punish, I am very certain I won't want any more of you.
Very well.
If you feel no sense of responsibility for your deliberate action, leave an innocent in the hands of all of those torments that you foresaw, that you knew would come. And don't tell me you didn't. You knew everything that would happen to me would occur. That is how you function. It is what you are.
as I said, I expect nothing of you except to continue to exist. That is sufficient for my purposes. If you wish to never interact with me or mine again after this time, that is your decision, and I will abide by it.
Calder will point the staff to his head. And what if I disintegrate myself?
She actually smiles at this point. She says,
You and I both know you're far too prideful for that. You have great things to accomplish, Calder Creed. Those that depend on you.
You say that, but I've never been one to do what I'm told. Then in that case, allow me to approach this differently. I'll step the top of the room. I am owed. I will stand by that. As much as I would, and you say that as if I don't also hold all of the ones that have wronged me in some way responsible for their cruelties. The simple fact is, I do. And thanks to a lifetime of experience and my own machinations and my own abilities and my own power, I will have my own time with them. I will exact a payment from them. I will make them regret everything they have done to me. Because that is what I am. I am patient. So, as I mentioned, I am willing to do what you ask to remove my father's powers because, frankly, I, more than anyone, do not believe he deserves them. But if I am going to ask for more, I will demand that information does not come at a cost of a further favor, because I am owed information at the very least. I'm not asking for an introduction to your father. I'm not asking for a preferential contract. I'm not asking for anything other than the answers to reasonable questions regarding a calamity that I'm presently neck deep in.
Ask your questions, then.
Why do I channel the powers of the Shadowfell? You speak of a compact. I made no such compact.
That, I'm afraid, caught me by surprise as well. The mind of the Raven Queen is her own, I'm afraid, and I have no access to it. I do not know why you manifest the abilities you manifest. I did not know that you would manifest them when I created you. I am not displeased, and you have grown to accomplish many incredible things, and I do foresee many incredible things in the future because of your connection with the Raven Queen, but I'm afraid this is a question that only she can answer.
Very well. How many questions do I get, separate from the contract, separate from whatever this arrangement is, how many questions do I get to ask regarding additional information?
Oh, I doubt your sense of self-righteous anger would possibly allow you to accept any less than 2 questions.
He'll think about it for a long moment. How do I bring Anton back into the fold?
Interesting. What a curious question. Just a moment ago, you were talking of vengeance and destruction upon your brother, and now you ask me this as your first of 2 questions only. Are you sure you will not reconsider your question?
I want that answer.
Anton has gone to a place that he cannot be retrieved from short of his death. But there is hope after that point.
you have manifested new powers of your own recently. Powers that those of sorcerers' bloodlines rarely have access to. I do not know why the Raven Queen has given you this ability, but you will not be able to bring Anton back to the fold, as you say, without killing him.
Calder will just think to himself, oh darn.
I know, that's the second time, like, that's the second time she's like, hey, you're going to have to do this horrible thing. And you're like, oh no.
Shame. Shucks. That's terrible. Only a terrible person would enjoy that.
Ask your second question.
Your answer confirmed other theories. The fact that you said he can only return after my death leads me to conclude that he left not of his own accord. He is being compelled somehow. And this compilation is complete. If I had to guess, the delusional druid is up to his old plant zombie tricks.
Was that a question?
No, it's a statement that I'm using to fish for additional information. He'll smile at it. So.
Absolute silence. Continuing to take in the beauty of the area, except for the hole in reality.
The horrible hole in reality. I haven't got it. What is something that my enemy desperately does not want me to know?
They maintain the flows of energies by the barest thread. Their control over the magic they wield is extraordinarily tenuous. If they were to be disrupted in a significant way, the flow could be redirected, or it could simply annihilate everything around it.
I believe that covers my two questions regarding my additional fate. Am I permitted to ask questions regarding our specific relationship?
Certainly.
Is there anything approximating love that you would have for me?
I feel pride in your accomplishments, if that's what you mean.
Might be close enough.
You know as well as anybody that you cannot squeeze blood from a stone. The emotion you describe is something that I and mine are simply incapable of. And the stronger for it, I believe.
Do you have free will?
To a very limited extent. I am bound by my nature far more than you or any of the other mortals on the material plane. I must act within my nature. My position gives me a little bit of leeway in that cause.
Tolerable, man. I thank you for allowing me to indulge in my anger for a moment.
It is well deserved.
And I want you to know, for the extent that you are able to care about such things, I forgive you.
Another very mortal concept.
It's one that you as a devil have to deal with quite a bit, though, isn't it? Doesn't the idea of forgiveness somewhat remove the entire sting of hell's punishment?
To some. I say that my position puts me in a place where I can gain more leeway, but it is more restrictive in a lot of ways than many of the lower devils.
I see.
But surely you're not here to extend sympathy to the mistress of hell.
Well, what else do you get for the woman who has everything? I can't imagine you get it very much.
The one who calls himself the outcast. He believes himself to be the puppet master. He believes that he has Morgenthau dancing on his strings.
Morgenthau. I've heard that twice now.
But he is not as free as he believes.
There is another player in voice. We know of Grumsh, we know of Morgoth, and we know of Belak and Morgenthau. Carl will look up at her with a sidelong glance of, that was more information, deliberately.
Well, perhaps I did owe you something.
He'll nod.
I do hope that we get to speak again one day.
That would be a fond pleasure of mine, Mother. Before he goes, Calder will sweep a hand in front of him to the space, the hole in reality in the dream space that he's made, and will essentially exert will on the dream space to return it.
And does it all fade in like a photograph, or does it like a Polaroid photograph, or does it grow out of the existing branches? What does it look like when that happens?
It's more like, as he waves a hand in front of it, it's like the burn marks from the hole in the world that he made just sort of relight and then regrow the world back around it.
And as the branches reknit, your vision goes all white and then all black. And when your eyes open, you are back in the world wherever it was that you were when you left. And with that, we're going to go ahead and kick it back over to the live stream. Thanks very much for watching.